12 on the Prerequisites practice test, page 4. So we just finished 11. I think everybody got those answers down. I was just writing this step as the video stopped, but we'd already had that in, so same thing. Okay, so 12 is a big, long problem with lots of questions. So it's a 24-point question on the paper pencil test, which is 1/4 of the test. So that's how important I think this problem is. So let's go ahead and begin. So this says, okay, first off it says write intercepts as ordered pairs. So let's just put little stars down there to remind us that these need to be written as ordered pairs according to the direction, the X-intercept and the Y-intercept, which we already know, but that's a nice little reminder. But like I said with Alex, if they won't take the parentheses, that means they don't want to order pair. They just want the X value or just want the Y value. So be careful with X. I had students try to put the parentheses in. They wouldn't take them, so then they wrote like 5, 0, and it counted it wrong because they just wanted 5. So if they won't let you put the parentheses in, that means they don't want a point. They just want the X or Y. So find the indicated function values. So when X, remember whatever's in parentheses is X, when X is -7, what is Y? And I put my printer on draft mode, and I wish I wouldn't have on this page. So when X is -7, I can see Y is -7 as well. And remember how we check it. We change it to, this is my X, this is my Y, and -7 is on the graph, and it is. When X is 0, Y is 0. And don't write Y equals 0. Remember, you just write 0. They only want the function value. And that means the point 0 should be on the B. Y is 3. So that means a 0.33 should be on the graph, and we can see, yes, indeed it is. So these are all giving us the X value all the way down through F, and we're finding the Y value. So this is what you type in the computer. This is how you check it. So we can put that right here. When X is 4, Y is 1. You can see that here. So that means the 0.41 should be on the graph, and we can see it is. When X is 6, ooh, that's an open circle. So do you all know that means that there isn't a value at 6? The graph goes all the way up to 6, but never touches it. It's like a parenthesis, so it's not equal to 6. It just goes up to 6. So guess what we write here? None. There's no value at 6 because that's an open circle. That means it's a hole on the graph, and there's no Y value to go with 6. 8, same thing. Go up and down at 8, and you can see there's no value on the graph. So 8 is also a none. Okay, now they're switching gears on us, so don't get tricked by this. Now they're saying find X. So that means we want to know what X is when Y is 1. So when Y is 1, let's get a different color here. Remember when we were doing this in our notes, I told you to draw a horizontal line because that's what Y equals 1 is. So Y equals 1 would be this horizontal line through 1 on the Y-axis. We learned if there's only one variable, that means it's horizontal or vertical, and this names which axis it passes through. So it only passes through the y, and it passes through at 1. Well, what you should notice is you intersect the graph in 2 places. So you're going to need 2 answers for that. So x equals, so this first one's going to be 1. X equals 1 and x equals, and the second one is going to be 4. So what that means is the point 1, 1, where should I put it? Right here. Should be on the graph when x is 1, y is 1, and the point 4, 1 should be on the graph. So is 1, 1 on the graph? Yes. Is the point 4, 1 on the graph? Yes. So those are my answers. X equals 1 and x equals 4. So next we have y equals 3. So let's do the same thing. Draw a horizontal line through 3. So this is y equals 1, horizontal line. This is y equals 3. I can see y equals 3 only intersects the graph once. So what's the x that goes with that? 3. So this would just be x equals 3. So I always, when they give me the y equals, do the horizontal line. It just makes it easier not to miss if there's multiple points. Okay, next we have domain. So domain, do you remember the whole pencil rolling thing? Domain are the x's, and we go left to right. So only look at the x-axis. Trying to get the graph. I might have to make this smaller. So only look at the x-axis and see which x values. So no x values out here, none here, none here, none here. Okay, there's my first x value right there. So look at the x-axis. Where am I at? -7. It's an actual point. So remember, when it's an actual point and not a hole on the graph, we put a bracket. Then we keep rolling, only looking at the x, don't look at the y. What's the furthest right x? So I stop right there and I go, that's the last point on the graph, and I can see on the x-axis that's 6. But because it's not an actual point, it's a hole, I have to use a parenthesis. So -7 is the smallest x, +6 just up to it is the largest x. So it should be the smallest x on the graph, largest x on the graph. And that's why we go left to right, because left will always be the smallest, right will always be the largest. And anytime you write this, the smaller number should always be listed first. Now range are the y's, and we do bottom to top. Okay, so bottom. So only look at the y-axis now. Remember, we're doing range. Don't even look at the x's. So the lowest y is right there. That is -7. It's an actual point, so put it in a bracket. Then we roll to the highest y. The highest y on the graph is 3, right above 2, so that would be 3. There's no point above x equals 3. So everything up there is blank. So 3 is the highest y, and we can see it's an actual point, so it gets a bracket too. So look at your graph. Lowest y, -7. Highest y, +3. And students will always go, well, why don't you look at that one? Because it's not the lowest and it's not the highest. because interval notation is the smallest and the largest. So that point is in between, so that's why we ignore it. Okay, go ahead and turn off the video and do the next two. I'm going to kick the snorer out. She sneaks in all the time and I don't see her. So do J and K and then turn your video back on. Oh, the wonders of teaching from home. Okay, X-Intercept. So where does the graph cross the x-axis? Well, here's the x-axis, and I can see it crosses, let's stay with the pink, at 2 points. It crosses the x-axis here, and it crosses the x-axis here. So that point's easy, 0, 0, and remember it said to write the intercepts as points. This one I can see is right in between 4 and 5, so how about we put 4.5, 0? I kind of put it over to the right, but it was about right in the middle, it looks like. So x-intercept is where does the graph cross the x-axis? It crosses the x-axis there, and it crosses there. And we know with the x-intercept, y is always 0. And the y-intercept, so where does it cross the y-axis? Well, it only crosses one time, and that's right at 0, 0. And there you have it. So that problem is going to be 1/4 of the points on your test. I don't know if I'll be able to find one with all those pieces, but I'll just have a couple different problems to make sure we cover everything that's on it. So that is all about functions. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the last page. So more function notation. So a ball is dropped from a 50-meter building, and you can see I built that number into your problem. So it is already put in the equation, the height in meters. Now that's important, so we want to write that down, underline it. So height is in meters. That's what H means. And you can remind yourself that's the H. And T, it says in seconds. So meters is H, seconds is T. And here's the function. So to find H of 2.5, that means make your X. In this case, we're not using X, so we're using T. So this is saying when T is 2.5, what's the height? So we go over here, and just like on the last set of exercises at the top of the last page, you need to show this step. This is your work step, so don't just go right to the calculator. I'll only give you half credit for that because I have you submit your work and I want to see this step. So negative 4.9 times 2.5 squared plus 50. And even though that's not a negative, it might be a good idea to put it in parentheses because that's a little bit busy. So negative 4.9 times 2.5 squared plus 50. So that's half your credit is writing the problem. So what they're saying is how high is the ball after, remember time, seconds, 2.5 seconds. So that's what this problem's saying. How high is the ball after 2.5 seconds? So let's go ahead and type that in. Remember, you don't type the left side in. That's your function notation, just the right. So that's a negative 4.9 times parentheses 2.5 close then hit your X squared